Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. I'm Nat.
And I am Z.
Welcome to our second episode. Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
I need the horns. I need the horns, like Beyonce said. I need the horns.
Oh, I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna see how I can get those sound effects in.
Yes.
So how you doing today, Z?
I'm okay. It's COVID, so what are we doing? Nothing.
Well, that's true. Trying to chill and enjoy your life as much as you can in the confines of your walls of your abode and whatnot. So
yes.
But today, this episode, we're looking at how to enjoy your 40s sorte as women in this day and age and what we go through. And Z and I both went to college together, and we know what it's like being in our 20s, and now we're in our 40s together, and whoo, child.
The glow up, as they say, is real.
So we're going to talk about those things today and looking from things to do that we, phase us now that didn't phase us then, or vice versa. Things that we definitely take to heart, things that we definitely need to be mindful of just for fun, health, mental health, and just enjoying yourself and what we've learned to this point.
Right. So if you're in your 20s or your 30s, you might glean some, information to help you when you get to your 40s. Or if you're in your 40s, you may just be sitting there saying, oh, she is preaching a word today.
Yes. And is the infamous tagline, 40s is the new 20? Is that what they say? Or 30s is the new 20? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think someone just said that just to help us cope.
Right. Ooh, because 40. But yes. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the tea of the day. So this is a disclaimer. We are not tea experts. So you should speak to your doctor when drinking herbal tea, as there are potential side effects when mixed with some medication. Herbal tea should not be a substitute for medication. We are not affiliated with any of these companies. These are not endorsements, but hopefully, God will bless us with some endorsements in the future. Fingers crossed.
Right. Claiming
hoping.
that.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yes.
All right. So looking at today for being in our 40s, we have aged very well, I would say. Myself,
I think so.
Z, and our girlfriends, we have all aged gracefully. And looking at some teas for anti-aging, we're looking at green tea. Everybody talks about green tea, the benefits, and the caffeine supplement, or basically as a replacement for coffee and whatnot. So it's good for anti-aging, and it's high in antioxidants and helps your body process free radicals and all the other stuff that helps or hurts our aging process. Looking at oolong tea, which helps fight wrinkles and strengthen bones. Thankfully, our crew, we really don't have to worry about any wrinkles. So, we should be good about that. Then we're looking at, the strengthening the bones part. We all need to be mindful of that because of the calcium in our bones as we get older. The deposits, it's not as robust as it used to be in our younger days. Things break a little bit easier.
They do.
You get up in that hip. Just ain't quite right. I know about that all too well. I've broken quite a few bones in my life, and let me tell you, re-up on your calcium intake some sort of way because it'll help. And then looking at white tea, this is the least processed of teas and one of the best for anti-aging because of there's less additives and whatnot. And rooibos tea, which is a particular tea when it's chilled, can be sprayed on your skin to rehydrate and apply antioxidants directly to your skin to add to your glow up, as you had mentioned earlier.
Because skincare is definitely important in your 40s.
Please,
definitely.
Yes, thank you.
Take
all of
care.
That. Yes, because some of the vendors out there, they definitely try to, bait you with how they think your skin should look. and how we take care of ourselves. So it's not all hype, but you definitely should take note in as a part of self-care, which is something, of course, we definitely encourage here to take time for yourself to do. Last but not least, as far as teas for anti-aging, hibiscus tea. 2 to 3 cups help rid the body of free radicals and protect against heart disease. Hibiscus tea in Jamaica, we use it as, we call it sorrel. It's an additive in sorrel, which I absolutely love. I just finished my bottle of sorrel from my mom that she sent down here a couple weeks ago, and it's such a wonderful tea. Love it to death. If I could have more, and they only make it at Christmas time, but I digress. I'm just saying I really love hibiscus tea. I digress. So the tea of the day is an English tea. It's called Heath and Heather Organic Tea with Coconut. It's naturally sweet and tranquil. The creamy taste of coconut is perfectly balanced with this light and delicate organic green tea. With a captivating fragrance and deliciously smooth flavor, this unique tea will engage the body and mind for a moment in paradise with every sip.
Yes.
Doesn't that sound glorious? Z has tried this tea. Would you like to comment on it?
Yeah, so it's not overpowering. You know, coconut, a lot of people don't like coconut. I'm not a coconut fan. Mm-hmm. I kind of say it's like hot pina colada. Hot pina colada. Not that you would want a pina colada that's hot, but it gives you an idea of what it would taste like. And you know, if you want to really like step it up to English tea, you could put some coconut milk in it for a nice little treat. So
love the tea
you can get it from Amazon. It is an English tea, really. So if you go to this company's website, you'll be buying in pounds and not American dollars. So just go ahead and buy from Amazon. Okay. So you know exactly how much you're spending, unless you know how to convert dollars into pounds. And who even knows what the dollar is worth now, because clearly we are now a shithole country. So I don't even know.
And nobody wants to let us in.
Nobody.
Nobody wants to. No, not at all.
Other countries are like, y'all can't sit with us. And I completely understand.
Y'all in time out. Go over there and think about what y'all have done.
Yes.
And you do not play well with others.
We don't
have several seats.
So
unfortunately.
So let's get into some piping hot tea. So let's see what we have today. So last week, if you listened to the last podcast we had, we talked about Michelle Obama's podcast dropping July 29th. Yes. And I got a chance to listen to it. And if I had to rate it, I would say it's 4 out of 5 tea leaves. The reason why I don't give it a full 5 is because I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it didn't give me more than what I already knew about the Obamas. You know, if you've listened to Michelle's Becoming or you've read Michelle's Becoming, just Obama running for president, and if you've done any deep dive into his background and to his history, they pretty much talk about some of the same things that we've already known. But it's nice to hear it coming from the Obamas, the couple, and not the Obamas, the president and first lady.
Right.
But there were some gems I took away from it. One, it was like when you could tell that Michelle is fully living her best life, not being first lady and having to watch the things she says. And she said to Obama, "You were running away from the money." And I was like, what is wrong with this Negro? And the fact that she said Negro sent me, I had to rewind it and say, wait, did she really just call her husband Negro? And I don't think anything she could have said could have made me love her any more than that right there. Because she was pretty much, because who hasn't called their husband a Negro?
Yes, girl. Look here, Negro. With a capital N-E-E.
Exactly. And she was talking specifically about the fact that, you know, he had this Harvard education and, you know, he could have gone to any of the big firms and he chose to, you know, pursue a life of public service, which I mean, benefited us because he became the president. But she was like, you were literally running from the money and I couldn't understand it. So I did get a key out of that. And then President Obama said something that I felt was very profound. He said, culturally, we have become focused on stuff and less focused on relationships and family. And we've become obsessed with this you can have it all philosophy. And I feel like that is definitely something that transcended for me, because that is what I think I was obsessed with in my 20s, right? I was literally obsessed with having it all, because I was going to have it all, because that is the philosophy that we have been taught. Like, you can have it all. You can have the family and the fancy career and the good girlfriends, and you can do all of these things. And I think that that philosophy has unfortunately damaged some people, because when they reach their 30s or 40s and they realize it's possible that I actually cannot have it all. Right. Or if I do have it all, there are going to be a lot of sacrifices that I'm going to have to make along the way. I think for some, I think me getting into my 40s, I realized that even if the idea of what having it all was,
it's different.
It's different. It's much different. And I'm okay with the difference.
And being, that's huge, because you have to be okay with it. Because like you said, in our 20s, having it all and going out and about and having that bag, having that image was so much more pronounced when we were in our 20s, and just being able to go, right, and not have any apologies for it, which, isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I definitely agree with the thought that you need to have it all, or with the perception of having it all, more in love with things and in people and relationships. Because most people are in their phones and they look down, they can't talk, they can't have regular conversations. I have a 20-something-year-old in my house, and I have a 19-year-old daughter, and having conversations with them sometimes, it's very it's like pulling teeth, in the sense that beyond a regular teenager. But if you ask about anything that's going on in the world, they're like, I don't know. Is it on the gram? Is it Snapchat? Is it
TikTok?
Is it TikTok? It's like, ooh, let's do a TikTok. And that's all well and good. But I think there's definitely been a shift of when we were in our 20s and we were like, what's going on with happy hour? And yeah.
Right.
Are we going to go shopping this weekend?
Right.
With money we probably none of us had to be shopping with.
Exactly. So yeah, but again, that one particular statement that he made really resonated with me, and it was something I was like, wow, like that is really where we are right now as a culture, and it's unfortunate. So I got a chance to watch Black is King. I actually watched Black is King 3 times now.
Girl, I need to get on. I'm gonna watch it tonight.
I did it one in its entirety, and then there were certain parts of it that really stood out for me that I watched again and again. Whew, this is 5 out of 5 tea leaves. Okay, all right, Beyonce gave me everything I thought I wanted and more. Blue Ivy was in it. Blue Ivy snatched all my edges. Okay, like
I heard she was part of the show.
Yes, I was just blown. I literally was blown away. And I'll say this. When Black is King, the album came out, I wasn't as enthusiastic about it as I have been about other Beyonce projects, right? It's an album that I listened to maybe in its entirety twice. And it's okay. It's good. It makes you feel good, but it wasn't something that I was just like, I got to keep going back and back and back to it.
Like I did with Lemonade. Ooh, right. That was on repeat.
But Black King, I think the visual album made me appreciate the actual album so much more. I was looking after, because I do this. If I watch something and I'm just like so taken aback from it, I need to find what other people think about it as well. I came across this article on Den of Greek, and they said, they described the visual album as an exquisite celebration of Black skin, Black bodies, and Black culture in all its many facets.
I love it.
And when I tell you that is exactly what it was, she left everything. I mean, she left everything in that visual album, and I can't even ask for more. It was just visually stunning. I mean, like, and I have to go back because there's so much symbolism in this. It's something that I'm going to have to digest and watch again, but it's a masterpiece. I'm going to say it's a masterpiece. And yes, I'm a Beyonce. I'm not a stan. I'm on the fringe of a stan. So,
are you in the Bayhive? Are you in the Bayhive?
I'm not. I'm Beehive adjacent. I'm not fully in. But so my opinion, it may be a little skewed, but it was to me, it was just absolutely breathtaking. It literally took my breath. I will say I was okay up until Brown Skin Girl came on, and I did shed some tears. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch it now.
You should watch it.
Not that I wasn't before, but I need to be like sitting where I know I'm not going to be interrupted.
Yes.
For me to watch it like that. You know what I mean?
Just to take it in.
Yeah, and take it in, because I'm big on that. So
yes. If you're looking for something to watch, and if you haven't watched it, I May Destroy You, which is a show by Michaela Cole. She is the creator, the writer, the director, the co-producer, the lead actress. I mean, she is multifaceted. I mean, like, she's beyond her concept, right? The show is set in London, and the synopsis on HBO is it says, set in London where gratification is only an app away. The story centers on Arabella, which is Michaela Cole, a carefree, self-assured Londoner with a group of great friends, a boyfriend in Italy, and a burgeoning writing career. But when her drink is spiked, she must question and rebuild every element of her life.
Oh, wow.
And this is one of those things where I looked at it and I was like, I'm so glad I am not in my 20s now. Because if this is life, I want no part of it. But it is a true representation of just like what young people go through now, and how much things have changed since we were in our 20s, and just like consent, how the idea of consent has definitely, I'm not going to say it's changed, right? But we've definitely taken that word and dissected more, and really picked apart, what does consent really mean, and what does it mean to have consent stolen from you?
Right. It's evolved.
Yes, it's definitely evolved, and it's so brilliantly written, and it's just like, it's so eye-opening for me. So if it's something that you haven't watched, I say go ahead and get into it now. I think we're like 8 or 9 episodes in, and I believe it's a 12-episode series, so you have enough time to binge it. One of the cool things about this is that she literally turned down a 7-figure deal from Netflix because they wouldn't let her keep any percentage of the copyright. And I'm going to tell you, time out, I do have a background in copyright. Young creatives or creatives, if you're listening to this, it is so important. What she did is so important. Your copyright is so valuable that you really need to make sure you're paying attention to the deal that you're getting into before you get into it. And this is she could probably have a TED Talk on this, just from her turning down this Netflix deal. Because we're talking about 7 figures, okay? That's a lot of money. And for someone, I think she might be her late 20s, early 30s. I mean, that's huge, you know?
Yeah, that's so amazing insight there.
Yeah. So that's Black girl magic all the way around. Breonna Taylor is going to be on the cover of O. And this is significant for a lot of different reasons. You know, Oprah has been on her magazine all 241 issues, okay? She's never had anybody else on the front of her magazine but her. Ever.
Which is the way to do it.
Exactly. And this month, August, she is changing that format, and she's going to feature Breonna Taylor to highlight racism and police violence. And this is a good move because by the end of the year, I believe she is moving to a more digitally focused edition and not a print edition.
Oh,
so, you know, I say I'm here for it. You're not going to get any criticism about Oprah from me, although I know that she is subject to a lot of criticism. So I stopped buying magazines a long time ago. I
have a ton.
Buy this. Well, yes, because you always bring them for vision boarding.
Yes.
So I definitely will be purchasing this. I just, you know.
I get Oprah in the mail, so I'm looking forward to this copy.
I'm looking forward to. She has if you haven't heard of this or seen it, you can Google it, and the image will pop up. The actual cover will pop up. So, I respect Oprah for that. So, and last, hot tea of the day. I don't know. I love Chloe and Halle. I don't know how many of you listening know them, but they're
I'm singing
adorable.
the song in my head right now.
I love these girls. Like, I honestly do. I was following them in their YouTube days. Mm-hmm. And then when they got picked up by Beyonce, I was like, oh, I cannot wait. And then I watched them on Grownish. So I'm just
amazingly talented
in love with these
ladies.
Girls. Right. So they have a Fendi collection coming out in pre-fall 2020. And Fendi has done something that they do not do, which is Fendi gave them complete creative control over their campaign.
Wow.
In front of the camera and behind the camera. I mean, this is something that's unprecedented.
Amazing.
And I watched a bit of their, I guess you could call it commercial for their collection. Mm-hmm. It is just, it was beautiful. I'm just like, I'm so proud of these girls. It's almost like they're my like nieces in my head. Right, I'm just so proud of them. So I'm really excited to see what this collection is going to look like. My bank account ain't going to let me purchase nothing from their pre-fall collection.
Not at this time. Not at this time.
My financial advisor has us on a strict spending diet right now, so they're not gonna get my coins, but they will get my support.
Which is appreciated, I'm sure.
Yes. And that's that's the hot tea of the day.
Great. Thanks, Z. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna jump right into our tea time segment. We're back to Sipping Tea with Nat and Z. I'm Nat.
And I am Z.
All righty. So the topic of today for our tea time segment, enjoy your 40 shorty. And as we alluded to before, Z and I are in our 40s. And I think, we're doing pretty well for ourselves. And there's a lot of lessons learned that we have. Some we've learned together over the years, and some we've learned on our own, and a lot that we've definitely talked about. As we talked about in our last episode, we used to have our mixed drinks Mondays, and that was a time that we would really kind of sit down and talk about, when we're in our 40s, we are in our 20s rather, we could do this, and that, and we could go out a couple nights in a row and enjoy ourselves and get up for work in the morning and enjoy the career that we had at that point, or a job. Let me rephrase that. Maybe we just had a job. And now a lot of us in our 40s are in our careers, and what that means and the journeys that we've had to go through to get to the point that we're in, and looking at your money and what does that look like for your careers? Is it self-fulfilling? Is it something that you're just doing for the money? Because a lot of times, maybe when we were younger, we would look to see, well, we're gonna chase that bag and go after that money, regardless if we like the job or if that's the career that we want. And right. I think as we've gone on and gotten older, we really put stock into our careers and how does that make us feel? What is the importance of work-life balance? Right. Which is huge for us. And I think that's something that we definitely take into account when we're looking at job changes or where we're looking to expand our scopes. I think Z referenced that she recently started not recently, it's been pre-COVID, that she, changed some areas in her career. And as far as myself, I've been at my same place for a little while, but my career changed as far as me starting my own company and looking at different things as far as going back to school and what does that look like for me and my career going forward.
Right. But, and I'll say, for me, in my 20s and in my 30s, I had this vision of what I thought I was supposed to be doing and what I thought my career was supposed to look like. And I was a supervisor. I was a manager for a good I would say 7 years up until
Ooh,
this
bless
past
you heart.
November. I know.
Bless your heart, because I'm not
That's
the
a
one.
whole nother, that's a story.
Work life. Yeah.
And I had some challenges with some things on my job, and it was a change, and it was a scary change. I wasn't sure that I would be good at the change. I didn't know. Zarifa and supervisor, Zarifa and manager were synonymous for so long in my life that I just didn't know. I thought you had to be the boss. And that's just had been my mindset for so long. Like, I'm going to be a boss. And I realized, like, you did that and it's okay. And now you can take a step back and kind of focus more now on your individual growth and your individual upward mobility, and figure out what other things interest you. Because for 7 years, although I was doing that, I also was more heavily invested in what my staff was doing, how to further their, further their career, how to help them with their professional development. And I think I lost a lot of trying to do that for myself. So I feel like, when you're younger, you have this idea of what your career is supposed to look like. If you went to law school, then I'm supposed to be working in this big law firm, because I subscribed to that mindset for a very long time. I graduated law school. And I was like, okay, now I gotta work for a law firm. I gotta get this, like, this middle six figures right now at 24.
There's a trajectory that you're expected to be on.
Right. And I think if you're someone who's driven like that, and you start to see your peers, move at a faster pace than you, then you kind of feel like, oh my gosh,
biggie.
Yeah, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm a failure, and
that is real. That is real.
When you get to your 40s, you're like, man, that shit don't matter.
Like, say what?
The hell was I doing? Like,
I could care less.
Like, right. But that's a lesson that you definitely have to learn over time.
Yeah, I would definitely attest to that, and not trying to keep up with what your perceived Joneses are, because everybody. And I think the crazy thing is about that is everybody's thinking the same thing, but not talking about it.
Right.
Everybody's thinking that they're not keeping up with the next person, and for whatever reason, perception is reality, and we all think that we should be at a certain place by a certain time, making this amount of money, doing these things, buying a house, having a car, having investments, having your portfolio up to snuff, and you just trying to get up and go to work, But I think that's something that we all have definitely gone through, and in some regards tend to go through, because now that we're in our 40s, we're a little bit more zoned in on what we want and what we don't want. So there's that next step as to, well, where does this look like? What does this look like now? Because I'm not really concerned about necessarily keeping up with whomever. I'm just happy everybody's doing what they're doing. Well, what am I really doing that's going to make me happy or going to help fulfill me in my everyday pursuits as I go into the office or stay home or whatever it is your line of work is. And that's, I think, definitely flows into the next area when we're talking about our friendships and relationships, of how we were trying to compare or not compare what we think our friends are doing and not doing, and how our friendships have evolved. And when you're in your 20s, it's like everybody's in a group going out with like 20 different people all the time. And that's definitely, quantity is a big thing, right? Bigger thing, I think, in your 20s than quality per se, because people are still learning themselves, and you put your trust and expectations into folks, and unfortunately they let you down, because they're human, and you also but they're going through their own changes. So putting them in unrealistic pedestal status sometimes puts you in a place where you're let down. And in our 40s, I would say we would going out to hang out with new people is great. I'm very social and stuff, and I enjoy meeting people and whatnot. But
wait. What? Very social, ma'am?
What,
ma'am?
Yes,
you are the social butterfly. Okay, you are. Don't water it down. Okay,
whatever do you mean, Z? Whatever do you mean?
Let's keep it 100. Okay.
So
I want to be like you when I grow up. I need to get into my tea so I can get my bones together, because right now I can't keep up with you.
I am quite social. I am quite the extrovert. When we did the Myers-Briggs thing that our friend said to us, I definitely was an ENJ something. I don't remember the whole little nutters or what have you, but the extrovert was there. So, I think, and you have to categorize your friendships, because there was a point when I was in my job, I could not go downstairs without me knowing somebody, like at my job, and everyone was like, "Who don't you know?" Because you can't walk 5 feet without somebody saying, "Hey, girl, what's up? Hey, Nate," and it's a good and a bad thing, because now folks don't. Before COVID, I became ghost, and folks were like, "I didn't even think you worked here anymore," because I've been so under the radar these days, which is cool. But yeah, I am definitely quite the little social butterfly, I must say.
You are. But again, taking a look at that, when we talk about having our friendships evolve and our relationships evolve and having quality over quantity, I look at the circle of friends that we have right now. And, it's pretty much been intact since our 20s.
Right.
We may have lost one or two along the way, but for the most part, we are still all intact. Okay.
Right. Right.
And I will say the quality of the friendships that we have definitely improved. I can say in our 30s, I would say the quality probably, we're still trying to find out who we are, trying to find ourselves. I think there was a lot of FOMO involved in that. Like, oh, if they're all going out, I have to go out because I don't want to miss out on something. And then they come back with these stories and I can't laugh because I don't know what happened.
I think when we went to Vegas, I think everybody went to Vegas that trip.
Yes, everybody did go to Vegas. Yeah.
Meanwhile, me and whole girl was back in the room asleep while y'all went to Humanity.
Right. So, I will say, I'm ambivert, so I am part introvert, part extrovert, but I did subscribe for a very long time to no new friends. I was happy with the group of friends that I had, and that was pretty much it. I didn't want to explore outside of that. But then I realized that you can do that and still get quality friends, right? In my 40s, I have developed closer friendships with you all. And I've developed some really good friendships with people outside of the circle. And so I think that sometimes it takes you getting into your 40s to understand and to shift and say, okay, here are my friendships. Which ones are serving me? Which ones are bringing me joy? Which ones are depositing goodness and positive energy into my life? And which ones aren't? If this person comes into the room, are they giving are they changing? Are they shifting the energy in a negative way?
Energy.
Right?
Let's talk about that soon.
Right. I think in our 20s and 30s, we dealt more with negative energy people than I would say now. We can get into a room now and the energy is light. It's not heavy. I don't feel like at some point there's going to be some confrontation because somebody said something, side-eyed somebody, whatever. I think in our 40s, everybody's comfortable with who they are and and what they're bringing in to the friendship.
And that's unique.
It really is. And I will say this. I will point out that I think our situation, our friendship, not to say that we're so special, but I do say that our friendships are very unique in the fact that we've been friends for 20 plus years. We've all grown. And that's not to say that there haven't been any conflicts or disagreements, or maybe, a falling out here or there, but we've always come back to center. And looking at the way that we've all grown and developed, it's just a beautiful thing. And then we all moved literally to the same area.
Right.
I don't think anybody, outside of one friend who's probably about an hour and a half. Well, no, we have a friend that's in Louisiana, but outside of that, the majority of us are like within driving distance of one another.
Easily like 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
Which just kind of happened organically. It just was kind of cool how that worked.
And I'm enjoying our friendships more in our 40s than I did in our 20s. Like like I feel like we are able to really do the things that we've always said we wanted to do as girlfriends, right? Travel the way we want. Our spouses are cool and they hang out, on their own.
Which is always nice.
Right.
The fact that your spouses could hang out with other spouses is something that I think is a blessing and a gift, because that doesn't always happen. And then for all of us just to be able to hang out and have our conversations and and we each have our own relationship and our own friendships unique to one another and how we relate to one another, because friendships at this age can be defined very differently than when you were friends in your 20s. Our daughter came home, they went over break, and somebody got her hair the same way as somebody else, and then she got blocked off of Instagram. I was like, so y'all not friends anymore? I don't understand. She's like, yeah. She was like, oh my gosh. And they all got together. They're like, what are they going to do? So-and-so blocked her. We're not friends. I was like, because who has the same hair? Like, it's just the perception and the quality, like you said, and the depth of the friendship, the things that you talk about, the things that we all have, how we talk and relate to one another is very different and unique. And we know that because each of us has a different perception and perspective of life and how that can filter and pour into one another.
Right.
And I would say definitely, I think at this age, we appreciate each other's gifts much more.
Oh,
because,
yes.
Because we know where each other's strengths lie. And I think that speaks to us developing this podcast, because we knew who could do what and how we could flow and how we mesh together as girlfriends and as friends and colleagues and what have you to make things work.
Right.
I think that's huge. And, what goes with that is definitely more confidence on how we relate to one another. Because I think the more confident, and we each struggle with our own level of confidence, from day in and day out. But because our confidence has evolved in certain areas, it has enriched our friendships and how we take advice, how we give advice, if we act on it or not, or if we seek it, and if we're going to have the friendship hat on, or is this event session? How are we maneuvering that and understanding that I really just need you to be this type of friend right now.
Right.
And you go to different girlfriends within the group for their different strengths. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a gift that we all have that I'm sure other people have it, but I know, our crew, we're really lucky in that regard.
Right.
And I think it's huge in how we relate to one another, how we view ourselves, and just like your self-image, because we don't look like we did in our 20s, Z. Oh, Lord.
Who you telling? Shit, girl. You ain't got to tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 times. I'm well aware.
If only I could have that body back when I was dancing in Shona's class.
But that's the thing. Like, even in, like, I know in my 20s and in my 30s, like, my confidence in terms of my body image was just, and I'm, just way different than what it is now. Now I'm like, this is me. I'm a woman. I've had a child. You know what I mean? I'm confident to walk out into the world the way that I am. And I'm more assertive than I ever was before in my personal and in my interpersonal, relationships. And I'm more assertive because of the confidence that I gain. Like, and I'm not saying that, in your 20s, you can't have confidence. In your 30s, you can't have confidence. I just feel like when I got to 40, it just leveled up. It was just like a light switch.
Yeah. You're more comfortable with yourself.
Right. And I just don't, what's that saying? Oh, what is that saying that people say? What other people think about you is none of your business.
Right. Somebody else's opinion of you is none of your business.
Exactly. As long as I'm happy with who I am and I'm confident in my skills, my talents, and my abilities, and I am happy with who Zarifa is and who Zarifa presents herself to the world, then I don't give a shit about what anybody else has to say about me, what anybody else thinks about me. I don't care.
Yeah. Why do I care? Journey.
It is. It takes a while to get there. Yes. But I don't let those ideas or those feelings take space in my mind. I just can't. I just don't do it. So
and it's a process every day. It took us a while to get to this point. This was not. It definitely was. It's a journey. It's an ongoing journey. It's definitely not a destination.
No, it's definitely not.
Definitely not. And sleep. Speaking to the body image, because I have insomnia, unfortunately, because I have unfortunately, I'm dealing with health challenges and chronic illness and so sleep is something that escapes me through different areas of my life, to the point my doctor was like, okay, you're sleep deprived and you've been up for 3 days. So we kind of need you to go to sleep. But you take it a lot more serious now, because I'm sure a lot of us, we could be in bed by 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock nowadays. When back in the day, we were just leaving work, getting ready to go out, I was looking at my phone the other night when I was up making like a snack, and it was 11 o'clock. I said, I should be in bed. No, good and well. A couple years ago, because I stayed out. I was out at the club every single day.
Ma'am, okay. A couple years ago, ma'am, let's speak the truth here, okay? This is pre-COVID, okay? Don't do that.
I mean, I slowed down a little bit, I stay with a busy social schedule.
Yes, you do. Like I said, I want to be like you. You come to a party and be like, all right, 12 o'clock, we gotta go to another party. Excuse me?
That's true. That is
I gotta go to my bed, okay? Like,
I got a couple of appearances I gotta make. I gotta make sure I touch her. Now I'm like, somebody's having a happy hour. Is it across the street? Okay, then I might go.
Ma'am, tell the truth and shame the devil, okay?
Because nowadays with my neighbors, since we have the neighbors we have, we don't go out to the club. We just go to somebody else's house. Pre-COVID. We just go across the street now, because it's been great. And I do stay busy.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I cannot do that. The quality of sleep has been so crucial for me, specifically with the 2-year-old. Like, I don't care how we put this child in bed. We didn't put her with we got her, what do you call, a weighted blanket, sound machine. We keep the temperature at a crisp 72 degrees in her
Not
room.
A crisp.
She does not stay in this bed. She will get up.
She has FOMO. She has FOMO.
I don't know what she has. She need to keep her ass in the bed, because clearly the quality of sleep is just not there. And I remember, like, I mean, if I get a good 6-7 hours, I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, like, when is bedtime? I'm looking at my watch, like, is it time to go back to bed? But I'm telling you, in my 20s or 30s, I could go off of 2 hours of sleep. You hear me?
When we lived together, we could be up all night.
We used to take Walmart runs at like 3 a.m.
Yes.
Just because.
Kart races at Walmart at 3 a.m. Just because. We're driving down to Virginia, West Virginia at 2 o'clock in the morning.
At 2 o'clock in the morning, just because.
Go to a party.
Exactly. I mean, I remember me and a good friend, you know who she is. We literally, this was like after law, so this was like mid-20s. Got up, went to work, drove to New York from Philly, partied in New York all Friday night, maybe got like 2 hours of sleep, got up, got back in the car, drove to DC, partied, maybe got like 3 hours of sleep, got back in the car, drove back to Philly, partied again, maybe got like 2 hours of sleep just to get up and go to work on Monday morning. Who does that?
Man, what?
I can't do that anymore. I told my husband the other night, we were having a conversation about once we get out of COVID and traveling and stuff like that. I was like, look, we go out, we got to find day parties.
Straight up.
Find some day parties.
Day parties now.
I need to be done by 8, okay? We need to be home.
Yes. Even if we have parties here at the house, they don't go that late. Well, the last one didn't go that. The last one didn't go that late. The last one. Let me just say that. But then the only reason we stopped that because we had an obligation the next day, or else we would have gone to 4 a.m.
Exactly. Right. I'm about to say, ma'am, devil.
As y'all can tell, I I enjoy hosting events quite a bit. I think it's one of my other callings in life is to be an event designer of sorts. Zarifa's face. Hey y'all, if y'all can see Zarifa's face right now. But yeah, that is true. Because when I was in my 20s working downtown DC, it would be Monday night was Margarita Mondays. Tuesdays was like I can't even remember the name. Every single place I went to, it was to the point that, you know, and I just enjoyed dancing and being out because I love to dance. And that was my outlet. That's how it worked out. And I knew some of the promoters, and you know, me and my girlfriends were the ones that never had to wait in line. We just kind of walked up to the front of the line, and they're like, "Oh, hey y'all, how you doing?" And we were that regulars, if you will, to a number of establishments and enjoyed ourselves. I enjoyed my 20s because I don't think in college was different for me. So I was in a relationship, and it probably wasn't the best one for me. And so there was a lot of stuff I didn't enjoy as much as I could have. And once I got out of school and enjoyed myself and moved to DC, I lived it up as much as I could.
Right.
Yeah. So but the one thing I did want to say about in our 20s, we spent money like it was going out of style.
Yeah.
To go out. And now I think we're all like, ooh, that's the mortgage. We all got mortgages. We have student loans. We try to have our perception of money and in a little different way, and where our stock options are, and how do we want to invest. And we have those conversations now, or something we wouldn't necessarily have in our 20s.
I would say my relationship with money has evolved. I think I had a relationship with money in my 20s. And now
what you say?
with money in my 20s and my 30s. And I think, you know, I've learned lessons from that and realized that, you know, and I think it's also because of the fact that when you're younger, you kind of think that 40 is old. Like I remember thinking when I get to be 40, oh my God, I'm gonna be so old, and it's just gonna be so I'm gonna live now because it's only downhill after that. And I'm realizing that no, I'm still young at 40. Like
yes,
I don't feel. So. I mean, yeah, my joints may crack a little
when it rains in the morning.
Yeah, but you know, I will say I realized in my 20s, if hindsight, like 40 is just like, it's still so young. There's still so much life left to be lived.
So much.
Like, and I wish I really paid attention to that. Right.
Start their new careers at this point. I shaved my head when I was, 40, 41. I decided to shave off pretty much all of my hair, and I have a little mohawk, and I said, this is me, and I don't think I will ever grow my hair back while I start growing my locks.
And that's also confidence, right?
Yes,
you've also developed that confidence to do that. You may not have felt confident to do that or you may have, I'm not going to say that, you may have cared more what people would have to say about you doing something like that, when you were younger, as opposed to now, right?
Right.
You definitely. Really, who cares what I'm doing?
I love it, and that's how it's going to be, and we're going to keep it pushing.
And, I'll say this, and this is something that I definitely learned now in my 40s, and it's something that it just is really profound for me, is that I look at my parents and my grandparents with a lot more understanding and empathy. Mm-hmm. Like my mom at my age, unfortunately, only had a year left in her life. But at this age, my mother had 2 children. One child getting ready to go into high school, and college, and one child on her way to law school. I cannot imagine having 2 grown kids like embarking on these important steps in their lives at this age. And I know that there are peers that have done that and are doing that, but it's just like I have more empathy now, right? Because in my 20s, I was looking at my mom, and there was just a lot of conflict and turmoil, right? And it was based in the fact that I couldn't be empathetic. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, like my mom really did the damn thing with the both of us at this age. I could not imagine. Like I'm struggling with a 2-year-old. Okay. I am struggling with a 2-year-old. So to imagine that happening, or imagining that, you know, I just look at it now and I just know I just have a lot more empathy and understanding for my mother at this age, and even my grandparents. You know what I mean? Like you're still trying to figure out who you are, but you're still trying to figure out who you are, but you have a better grasp and understanding of who you want to become and how you want your life to look from this point forward. So, you know, I'm appreciative of my 20s. My 20s were definitely an era that I made a lot of mistakes that I learned from. I think my 20s were my fuck up years. Mm-hmm. My 30s might have been my regret years. And my 40s are my enlightened years. Like I'm just so thankful for all of the experiences that I had along the way, because they helped me get to this point, and they helped me really, I would say, enjoy being in this space of 40 right now. And yeah, we're still in the, you know, the earlier end of 40 than the later end of 40, but still, it's just like this ride so far has just been amazing. And just looking back at who I was in my 20s and 30s, I'm like, oh, child, you was a mess.
Growth.
Ooh, he was a mess.
Growth.
Oh, he was a mess.
And I think each day should be celebrated, no matter where we are and where we've come from and where we are now, and providing those insights as we move ahead and look ahead into what we want these next years to be.
Right. Because I really am, like you said, I'm enjoying my 40s, and I'm taking stock and appreciating things and being aware of the importance of things like my health, right? Yep. You know, 40 tends to be around that time where some of these issues that you know, start to pop up, health issues, things that you didn't know maybe you had a history of in your family start to kind of surface. And you know, I think we are at an age where we can really take care of ourselves better if these things arise than probably we were in our 20s and in our 30s, right? Right. Well, we have health insurance, so that's
thank God for that.
We got that good health insurance, so right? That helps. But you know, I think we just taking, you know, stock of what's really important. I think I'm able to do that with a clearer mind now than I was in my 20s and my 30s. So
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So, well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with our last sip of the day. And we're back. So we are at that point in our podcast where we like to have a little segment called The Last Sip of Tea with your Hood Dalai Lama. And I am your Hood Dalai Lama. And the quote that I want to leave you all with today is, "The age of a woman is not important. You can be wonderful in your 20s, amazing in your 40s, and stay fabulous for the rest of your life." Now, this quote is attributed to Coco Chanel. I'm not 100% sure that she said it, but let's say that she did and keep it pushing. And I like this quote because it's so true. I mean, yes, we've talked about a lot of differences between, you know, our 20s and our 30s and our 40s. And it really, honestly, the age of a woman really isn't important. Yes, we all know you can be wonderful in your 20s, amazing in your 40s. But I think that I honestly believe that when you get to 40, something happens and your mind shift just really changes. And the things that you used to worry about, you don't worry about anymore. You let a lot of these insecurities and these thought processes go. You know, feel more like who you always wanted to be. You let go of a lot of ideas that society has pushed into your head. Like, oh, you should be married and have a child by 35. And if you don't, you're like, oh,
that part.
You realize that all of those things don't matter. Things happen in the time that they're supposed to happen. 40 has just been, I thought I was going to struggle when I hit 40, and I didn't. I embraced 40. Like, I just was like, yes, 40 is here. Let me see what this decade of my life is going to bring. And it has brought me so much joy and so much happiness. And so if you're not quite 40, if you're on the cusp of 40, do not look at it with dread. It is a beautiful experience. And yes, I promise you, a light bulb is going to go off. And these things that we talked about, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, they're so right. Like, it's like almost like overnight, these things change. And I will say this, whatever milestone you're about to reach, whether you're about to go into your 30s or your 40s or your 50s or 60s, there are some things that I think everybody should do, male or female, however you identify yourself. One of the things is reflect, right? So when I was 39, about to turn 40, I really reflected. And I looked back on my 20s and 30s. And I said, okay, I'm about to be 40. What are some of the things that I want to carry with me? And what are some of the things that I'm going to leave behind? And those things could be thought processes, right? People, right? Habits. What are the things that I'm going to take with me and leave behind? And then I set a goal for myself. I said, okay, here are the things that I'm leaving behind. Here are the things that I'm bringing with me. What are the goals that I want to set for myself? What are the intentions that I'm going to set for myself for my 40s? What are some of the things? And these weren't like the goals that I made in my 20s. And these aren't the goals like, oh, I'm going to be this. I'm going to be the CEO of this corporation by the time I'm 35. And I am going to have this by the time, not that. Like, how do I want my life to look? What is happiness going to be for me in my 40s, right? What is my family going to look like? What is bringing me joy, and what do I want to continue to bring me joy? How are my friendships going to evolve? How am I going to evolve, right? So set those goals for yourself and then make a plan. How are you going to get to that point, right? How are you going to get to, that particular destination or how are you going to travel on that journey? So if you want to cultivate the friendships you have and improve them, and like you said, do quality and not quantity, what are you going to do to make that thing happen? If you want to have a happier, more fulfilled life, what are the things that are going to get you to that, right? If one of the things you want to do is there's a woman on Instagram, a Black woman. Oh, she's so fabulous. I believe this woman has traveled to every country in the world.
Awesome.
She has traveled to every country in the world. If that is a goal that you want to do, make that plan to get to that. Whatever phase, whatever milestone you're about to reach, if you do those 3 things, I'm telling you, you're going to be good. You're going to be set. You're going to have purpose. You're going to have a vision. Things are going to be clearer for you. You'll have a greater understanding, and you'll really be able to enjoy that space that you are in. And you'll be able to enjoy that new transformation, that new milestone. So I leave you with that, your Hood Dalai Lama. That is the last sip of the day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So at this point, we want to really thank you for joining us this week on Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. Thank you for your time and your interest. You can follow us on Instagram at Sippin' Tea, Nat and Z _pod. And our other social media outlets will be coming, so stay tuned. And then on that, you can follow us for your upcoming podcast topics, our guests and news, and anything else that we would like to bestow upon you as we go through your week. And thanks for listening, and see you next week.
See you. Love you, Nat.
Love you too, Z.